Let's sew two different versions of the Bella leggings. First, let's start with the View B, the color blocked back. Now you'll see I've got some labels on these because, believe it or not, I often don't finish projects right when I start them. So this is to help remind me which pieces are which. So I've got B marked for the back, F marked for the front, and this is the center panel, which you can see there's a notch on the back. So I know which side is which. There's a notch here, notch there, no notch on this side. So start with them laid out, sew these panels together. So let's take this out. I like to start with the back, match up your notches, and place the panels right sides together. Let's sew along this long edge here. Okay, there's your seam. You always get bonus points if you press and top stitch. And it's really your choice which way you want to press the seam. Now let's do the same for the front. Right sides together. And sew along here. All right, you've sewn the front side on, and now it's not too late if you still wanted to go back and top stitch, which I think I'm gonna do. I usually don't, but it makes it look nice. Let's try it. So I don't have a cover stitch. I have this Singer Heavy Duty, and to top stitch, I like to do number 2, which is this triple stitch here. So you could also do number 5 or 6. So now we've got both the left and right side together, and I did go ahead and top stitch. Look how nice that looks. It's just a extra touch, kind of reinforces the seams, keeps them flat. I was just talking about how nice my sewing machine had been behaving, and then it ate my fabric a little bit. That's okay. We're moving on to step 5, where we're sewing the inner seam, the inseam here. So you'll take either your left or right leg and fold it in half, right sides together, to match up this inner seam. And sew on each side. Perfect, now we're ready to sew our crotch seam, which will be step 6 in the instructions for the Bella kids leggings. So you're going to turn one leg right side out. It doesn't matter which one, whatever one is closest to you, and then you're gonna put it inside this leg. And match up the crotch seam. So your fabric should now be right sides together. It should match from the inseam to the waist here, where you've got a little bit longer on the back of the pants. A little bit shorter for the front of the pants. And now you're going to sew all along here. Nice work, we're almost finished. So let's turn these right side out. It should be pretty apparent which side is the front versus which is the back. It's time to attach the waistband and the leg cuffs, or if you're doing the hemmed version, you would fold the hem allowance under and top stitch. I'm going to show you the waistband in a print material, even though I've already prepped mine in this solid material, but it's just going to be easier for you to see. The traditional way of doing bands would be fold it in half, sew this, and then fold it down, enclosing the seam. But this, what I'm about to show you, kind of skips that step and has it pre-folded. So you're going to fold it in half widthwise, and then again lengthwise. And now you will sew this short end over here that has 4 raw edges. The opposite end should have a fold, and this is the long end. You're not going to sew that. So right here. So I sewed the seam of the waistband. Let's turn it right side out. I really like this method because it just reduces a layer of bulk in this seam here. Because usually you'd have the seam folded in half, but this way there's just the one seam, and it helps it stay folded, which I found makes it easier to attach. So it's kind of your preference, but I just like to show you another way you can do that. Before we attach the waistband, we're going to mark the quarter points. So you'll fold it in half, mark the opposite fold of that center seam, and then bring that mark and the seam together. And we do this on both the waistband and the waistline of the pants so that we can match them up. Your waistband's going to be slightly smaller than your waistline of the pants, and that's to snug it in, to keep it, to hold it up over the hips and butt, because your waist is smaller than those things. So you're going to be stretching the waistband to fit the waistline, and then it should snug it in nicely. And this step of quartering it just ensures that we stretch it evenly. So now we already know two of the quarter points of the pants. Obviously the center back seam, the center front seam, and then we can get these side quarter points by just making sure the marks we already made are together. And now, starting with the back center of the pants, match up your seam of your waistband. So place the waistband over the pants with the fold down and the raw edges pointing up and lining with the raw edge of the pants. Then you'll just go around and match up all of your quarter points, making sure that you're not twisting your waistband as you go. So now as we attach the waistband, we are going to slightly stretch it, gently, slowly, to attach it to the waistline of the pants. Try your best not to stretch the pants themselves to avoid waviness. Ta-da! So now we will prep and attach the leg cuffs the same way. I line up the seam of the cuff, sorry, dog hair, with the inseam of the pants. And for this, the opening is not super big, so you probably don't have to quarter the points, but I still like to at least clip it together where I want the seam to end up. Those are cute. Get these little leg cuffs. And of course, I had to make the matching top out of the kids' Radiant Raglan pattern. And now, bonus points if you can get your kid to wear the clothes. Before I show you the ruffled version, I want to thank you for watching so far. You can use code BELLAYT50 at checkout to save 50% off any pattern. Today I'm making the Bella pants in the solid back version, which is view A, and I am adding the ruffle to it. My daughter prefers a slightly looser fit, so she's usually 3T width by 4T height, but this one I just made a straight size 14 with no grading or blending. Since we're not color blocking the back, our first step is going to be number 2 in the instructions, which is gathering these leg ruffles. So you're going to fold them in half, wrong side together. So let me find the right side on this brushed polyester. So I'm folding in half lengthwise with my wrong sides together. Because I am doing the cuffed version, I don't have to do the extra step of sewing one edge together. So now I'm gonna go to my sewing machine and sew with a based stitch, a long straight stitch. I'm gonna leave my tails long. I'm not gonna back stitch at the start or finish. And then I will gather by pulling on the bobbin thread when we're done. So I have my stitch set to a straight stitch, which is 0, 0 for my machine, and we're leaving the width where it is because we're going straight, but the length I have turned all the way up. You want to do this based stitch within the seam allowance. So I'm going about 1/4 inch from the raw edges here. My seam allowance is 3/8 of an inch. So I want this stitch to be to the right of my seam allowance. So we have sewn our basting stitch all along the raw edges here of the ruffle. Now it's time to gather it to the same length as our legging. You can always do a second row of basting stitch to the right side of the seam allowance, and that will give you more control over the gathering. But for this tutorial, I'm just going to show you one. This is our bobbin thread at the back, and we're just going to gently tug and start to gather. I like to go a little bit on the top, a little bit on the bottom to meet in the middle. If you haven't seen my video on gathering with a serger, check that out. I will link that here. And once you've decided that your ruffles look even and it's the same length as this, I want you to sandwich it between the 2 halves of the legging. And then we're going to sew all of these layers together. So you've sewn the front and back legging part together with the ruffle sandwich between, and it looks so cute. Now what I like to do is make sure the ruffle is pressed towards the back and the seam pressed towards the front, and then top stitch that in place along here. From here, the steps are the same as for the previous version I showed you. You'll sew the inseam for each leg, turn one leg right side out and place it inside the other, sew the crotch seam, and then you're ready to attach the waistband and leg cuffs. Thanks so much for watching. I really love this cute little pattern. Be sure to like and subscribe for more sewing videos.